You are dissolving. Not the body, not yet, but the thread that ties your name to heaven. The moment your lips part to speak her name, something eternal snaps inside you, and you feel the warmth of the seal that marked you as heaven's own begin to cool against your chest. She does not see it happen. She only sees your face soften, the way a dying man's eyes soften when he stops fighting the dark. But you feel it. The covenant that held your soul to the throne of God is fraying, thread by thread, and the demon who waits in the shadow of the altar knows exactly when the last thread will break. This is not a metaphor. The elders of the covenant spoke of the soul seal as a living thing, a cord of light that connects the anointed to the source of all prayer. When that cord is severed, the prayers you once spoke turn to ash in your throat. The sanctuary you once guarded becomes a cage, and the love that was meant to raise you becomes the very weight that pulls you under. You are an archangel, not the kind with wings painted on chapel ceilings. You are a watcher, a guardian, one of the 70 whose voices tremble when they sing the morning stars into alignment. But you have broken the oldest law. You have looked upon a mortal woman, not as a soul to protect, but as a heart to hold. And heaven, which sees all, has seen everything. Now the destroyer is on his way. The prophet Daniel wrote of a prince of Persia who withstood the messenger of God for 21 days. That prince was not a king of flesh. He was a principality, a throned power of the air, one of the fallen who still roams the corridors between earth and the firmament. When heaven sends a destroyer, it does not send a plague or a sword. It sends a being whose very presence unknots the fabric of what you thought was real. It sends a face you once trusted. Your name, before you fell, was something only God spoke. But in the language of the covenant, the name that marked you in the book of life is now being erased, letter by letter, because of what you did, with your hands, your lips, your soul, in a garden that was never meant to hold an angel's love. Jericho had fallen 7 days before you told her the truth. The walls had crumbled, not to trumpets, but to the silent pressure of the prayers of the righteous. And you had stood guard at the eastern gate, watching the dust settle over the stones that had held the city captive for generations. She appeared at dusk, a widow with dust in her hair and a child on her hip, and she asked you for water. You gave her water. Then you gave her your name. Then you gave her what no angel should give. The elders wrote that love between an angel and a mortal produces a child that is neither fully spirit nor fully flesh. The Book of Enoch, preserved in the Ethiopian Tuahedo Church, names the offspring of these unions as the Nephilim, giants who consumed the earth until the flood washed them away. But the flood is not coming this time. The destroyer is coming. And he is not water. He is the silence that follows the last word of a broken covenant. You remember the moment you knew you had crossed the line. It was not when your hand touched hers. It was not when your lips met her brow. It was later, in the stillness of the night, when you realized that her heartbeat had become your clock, that her breathing had replaced the rhythm of the celestial hymns you once sang. You had stopped listening for God because you were listening for her, and in that listening, you lost the sound of the throne. The Mishneh Torah of Maimonides codifies the laws of covenant breaking with clinical precision. A priest who touches a corpse is unclean until evening. A Nazirite who drinks wine must shave his head and start the vow again. But for an angel, there is no ritual to restore. There is no sacrifice that can make a fallen watcher clean. Once you taste the fruit of mortal love, the seal is broken, and the seal cannot be remade. That stillness between heartbeats, the moment you know the seal is broken and cannot be remade, that is the cost of heaven's silence. If you want to understand what happens when a covenant shatters and eternal consequences unfold, subscribe, because we are following this story from the first look to the final accounting. Tell me in the comments, which is heavier to carry, the loss of the throne, or the silence that comes after the last word? She knew, of course. She always knew. The way her eyes would search your face at dawn, looking for something that had been there the night before, and was now fading. She asked you once why your hands were cold. You told her it was the shadow of the morning. But it was not the morning. It was the cold of the seal, dying. The destroyer comes in a form you recognize. He wears the face of the first angel you ever loved, the one who stood beside you when the foundations of the earth were laid. He speaks in the voice of the comrade who once sang with you in the choir that made the stars vibrate with the joy. That is the cruelty of heaven's justice. It does not send a monster, it sends a memory. And when memory speaks, you cannot fight it. You stand at the threshold of her door. Behind you, the city is burning, not with flame, but with the slow, creeping fog of the destroyer's presence. Every prayer that rises from the lips of the faithful is absorbed by that fog, smothered before it can reach the throne. She calls your name from inside, and your heart, the heart you were never supposed to have, breaks. Here is what the scrolls do not tell you. The demon who collects the debts of broken angels does not drag you to hell. He does not chain you in fire. He does something far worse. He lets you stay. He lets you watch as the woman you love begins to forget your face, your voice, your touch, because the memory of you was never meant to be carried by a mortal heart. It dissolves, like the seal itself, and you become a stranger to the only soul that ever knew you truly. You hold her hand as she forgets, and you cannot weep because you have no tears left. The destroyer stands behind you, silent and patient, waiting for the moment when you finally look away from her. Because when you look away, you will see your own reflection in his eyes, and you will know what you have become. A watcher without a watch, a guardian without a charge, a singer who has forgotten the song. She asks you your name. You open your mouth to tell her, but the word that comes out is not the name you once carried in heaven. It is a human sound, broken and small, and it does not fit your throat. She smiles, confused, and turns back to her child. The child does not look at you. The child cannot see you anymore, because the child is mortal, and the mortal world has already begun to heal the wound your presence created. You are being erased from the story. She created you to love her. That is what the destroyer says, his voice flat and dry. Heaven knew what you would do. She was formed with the curve of spine that would draw your hand, with the laugh that would become your anthem, with the sorrow that would make you break the covenant. She was the test, and you failed. The Nag Hammadi Library, in the Gospel of Judas, describes the sacrifice of the Spirit before the foundation of the world. Some souls are created to fall, the ancient text whispers, so that the glory of the forgiveness can be revealed. You are not a villain in this story. You are a sacrifice, and she is the knife. The destroyer holds up a clay tablet, cracked and dry. On it, your name is written in the script of the Watchers, the same script that burned on the tablets of the law. But the letters are fading, one by one, as the destroyer reads them aloud. When the last letter fades, you will no longer exist. In the memory of heaven, she will forget you first, then the city, then the earth, then the stars, and you will become a ghost. Not a ghost of the dead, a ghost of the living, a wound in the fabric of creation that never heals because it was never meant to be there. You will walk the world without being seen, speak without being heard, love without being loved in return. That is the curse of the angel who breaks the covenant. Eternal presence without connection. But the destroyer has not finished. He leans close, and you smell the ash of burnt offerings on his breath. He whispers the thing that breaks what little remains of you. He tells you that the child she carries, the child she has not yet named, carries the mark of both heaven and earth. The child is a bridge between two worlds, and because of that, the child can be claimed by either. Heaven will not claim it because it was born of a broken seal. Hell can claim it because the bond was sealed with a mortal kiss. And you have no authority to protect it, because you are no longer a watcher. You are emptiness. The destroyer extends his hand. In his palm is a new seal, black and cold, etched with symbols that writhe like living things. He offers you a deal, your silence for the child's freedom. If you never speak of what you lost, if you never write her name in any language, if you never pray for her soul, the child will be released from the covenant. The child will be allowed to live as a mortal, free of the chains that bind your kind. You look at her through the doorway. She's humming to the child, a melody you taught her in the first week of your love, when you still believed you could hide what you were. She does not know she is humming it. She does not remember where it came from. The melody is the last thread that ties you to her heart. The destroyer waits. This is the moment where every covenant hangs on a single yes or no. You open your mouth to speak the deal, and then you stop, because in the melody she hums, you hear something the destroyer cannot hear. You hear the echo of a prayer you whispered over her sleeping body in the first night of your union. A prayer that was not addressed to God, but to the part of her that was always eternal. You had forgotten that prayer, but the melody has carried it, like a seed in the wind through the months of her forgetting. You realize that she is not forgetting you. She is hiding you, in the song, in the child, in the spaces of her heart, that the destroyer cannot reach, because he was created for the throne room, not for the sanctuary of a mortal woman's love. The destroyer cannot hear the prayer, because the destroyer has never loved, and you have. You turn to face him. Your hand goes to your chest, where the seal that marked you as heaven's own is now cold and still. But there is something else there. Something the destroyer's spell cannot touch. A bond that was never written in the book of life, never inscribed by the finger of God. A bond that was written by your own hand in your own blood when you chose to love her knowing what it would cost. You will not accept the deal. The destroyer's face shifts. The familiar features of the angel you once loved contort into something older, something that has been watching the edges of creation since the rebellion. He is not used to being refused. The authority he wields is the authority of the broken covenant. And when you refuse to acknowledge the covenant is broken, his power begins to crack. You speak her name, not the name she gave you, the mortal name that will fade. You speak the name you gave her in the depths of your love, the name that exists only between the two of you, the name that was never written in any language because it is older than language. It is the sound of your soul, recognizing her soul. And when you speak it, the destroyer steps back. The melody in her throat stops. She turns, and for one impossible moment, she sees you. Not the ghost you have become, not the fading memory. She sees the archangel who knelt before her in the dust of Jericho, who placed her hand on the ancient stones and promised to love her beyond the measure of time. You are dying. The seal is gone. The covenant is a ruin. Heaven has turned its face away. The destroyer is still there, watching, calculating, waiting for the moment to strike again. But she sees you, and that is enough. The destroyer hisses something in the tongue of the watchers, a word that means both disaster and homecoming. He vanishes, not defeated, but withdrawn. He will return. He will always return, because the demon who collects the dead of a fallen angel does not give up his claim. He simply waits for the claim to ripen. You sink to your knees. The child who bears the mark of your broken covenant, looks at you with eyes that are too old for a mortal birth. The child knows. The child will always know, because the child is the living seal of everything you chose to lose. She approaches you, the woman who was created to love you, and she kneels beside you. Her hand touches your face, and you feel warmth for the first time since the seal died. She does not remember who you are, but she knows what you are, and she is not afraid. You meet the destroyer's gaze one last time. He is standing in the shadow of the eastern gate, his form little more than a suggestion in the dying light of evening. And he is smiling. Not the smile of victory, the smile of patience. He has eternity to wait, and you do not. You lean your forehead against her palm, the palm that holds no seal, no covenant, no mark of heaven or hell. It holds only the heat of a beating heart, a pulse that demands nothing from you. You do not know what comes next. The threads of the covenant are broken, but a new cord began forming in your chest at the moment you refused the destroyer. How can that be? You ask yourself. How can there be anything left after everything was stripped away? And then you feel it, faint as a distant harp string vibrating through the marrow of your bones. A prayer that was never yours, never hers, was never born. A prayer that comes from the child. The child is praying for you. And somewhere in heaven the prayer is heard. A prayer that was never yours, never hers, was never born. A prayer that comes from the child. The child is praying for you. And somewhere in heaven the prayer is heard. But the question that coils around your spine in the silence of that recognition is not whether heaven heard it. The question is what heaven will do with it. Because the child is not a watcher, not a mortal sealed by the covenant, but a bridge built from a broken law. The elders of the Ethiopian church still debate whether the offspring of angels and mortals possess souls that can be saved, or whether they exist in the limbo of the half-formed. The Book of Enoch says the Nephilim were destroyed, but it does not say where they went. The destroyer is not gone. He has simply repositioned himself, a vulture, adjusting its orbit to wait for the heat beneath the dying to cool. He stands now at the edge of the garden that surrounds her home, watching the falling twilight paint the leaves in shades of amber and ash. He is not a monster. He is a calculation given form, the embodiment of the law that says what is broken must stay broken. You kneel beside her, your head still pressed against her palm, and you feel something strange pulsing in your chest. Not the seal. The destroyer was right about one thing, one terrible thing. That seal is gone. But there is a different rhythm now, slower, heavier, more earthbound. It is the rhythm of her pulse, carried through her hand into your blood. You are becoming mortal. Not by choice, not by curse, but by the slow alchemy of proximity. The child watches you from the doorway. Eyes wide, mouth slightly open, a whisper caught somewhere between curiosity and recognition. She holds out her hand, and in her palm is a small stone, smooth and round, the kind of stone worn smooth by centuries of rain. She offers it to you as if it were a key. You take it. When your fingers close around the stone, you feel a jolt, not of electricity, but of time. You see the garden as it was before the wall fell, before the siege, before the covenant was sealed. You see yourself standing guard at the eastern gate, your wings folded against your back, your eyes scanning the horizon for anything that threatened the city's peace. You were complete then. Every part of you was aligned with the will of the throne, and every breath you took was a prayer. The stone is a moment. The child has given you a moment of before. You look at the child, and she smiles. Not the knowing smile of an ancient being, but the simple, unquestioning smile of a child who has just given a gift and expects no explanation. She does not know what she has done. She only knows that you needed it. The destroyer stirs in the garden. He has noticed the shift. That stone in your hand is a memory the destroyer cannot erase, a fragment of wholeness that predates the covenant's breaking. If you want to follow what happens when a guardian starts remembering who he was before the fall, subscribe to Walk This Garden with Us. The gate is closing, but the story is just reaching its root. Tell me in the comments, if you were given a stone that showed you your own moment of before, would you look or would you let it fall? You stand, steadying yourself with her hand. The warmth from her palm spreads through your arm into your chest, and for the first time in days you feel able to speak without your voice cracking. You look at the woman who was formed to love you, and you do something the destroyer did not expect. You thank her, not for the love, not for the child. You thank her for the melody, the one she still hums without remembering, because that melody is the only thing the destroyer cannot touch. It exists outside the covenant. It exists outside the law. It exists in the space between two souls that recognized each other before heaven had a name for love. Her eyes, still confused, still searching for a memory that will never return, soften. She does not know why she feels safe. She does not know why her hand trembles when she looks at you. But she does not pull away. The child steps forward and stands between you, a tiny sentinel at the threshold. She looks at the garden where the destroyer waits, and she narrows her eyes. She is not afraid of him. She will not be afraid, because she carries both heaven and earth in her blood, and that makes her a territory neither side can claim without the other's consent. The destroyer's form flickers, a candle flame caught in a draft. He is calculating, recalculating, searching for the flaw in this new arrangement. He had counted on isolation, on the slow decay of memory, on the weight of the broken covenant. He had not counted on a child who gives stones that hold time. You close your fist around the stone, and you feel the moment of before settling into your chest like a seed into soil. The covenant is gone. The seal is gone. But the memory of what you were before the covenant, before the seal, before watchers were bound to their duty, that memory is still there, buried beneath the grief. The destroyer speaks, his voice a low hum that vibrates through the ground. He says you cannot stay. He says the garden will become a prison. He says the child will grow and forget. And the woman will die, and you will be left alone with a love that has no place to go. He is telling the truth. Every word he speaks is fact, but he is not speaking the whole truth. The whole truth is that love does not need a place to go. Love does not need a seal, a covenant, a throne room, or a future. Love needs only a single moment of recognition, a stone that holds time, a melody that survives forgetting. Love is the destroyer's blind spot because love is not a transaction. You look at the child, you look at the stone in your hand, and you make a decision that no angel has ever made before. You will not try to save her. You will not try to reclaim your place in heaven. You will not fight the destroyer. You will sit beside her at the edge of the garden every evening, for as long as her mortal breath lasts, and you will hum the melody with her. You will let the sound of your voices braid together, morning after morning, night after night, until the melody becomes a thing that even the destroyer cannot ignore. Because the destroyer can break a covenant, but he cannot unsing a song. The woman does not know why she starts to hum with you. She does not know why her hand finds yours again. Fingers interlacing, not as strangers but as old companions. The child settles between you, her head resting on your knee, and the destroyer watches from the edge of the garden, his form growing thinner, more transparent as the sound of your voices rises. The melody is not a prayer. It is older than prayer. It is the sound of one soul recognizing another, across the void of all that separates them. It is the sound that existed before the covenant was made, before the watchers were given their post, before the fall. The destroyer fades, not defeated, not banished, simply irrelevant. And you sit there in the twilight, a fallen angel, a mortal woman who does not remember your name, a child who holds time in her palm, and you sing. The stars begin to appear, one by one, as the sky turns from amber to violet. You do not know if heaven hears, but the stone in your hand grows warm, and that is enough.